It's easy to hate on Big Ed. Between the YouTube cringe compilations, the daily Reddit hate threads, and the slew of online articles outlining every mistake he's ever made, Ed just can't win people over to his side. But every story has two sides, and just like in real life, we as viewers can get so stuck in seeing one person as the
manipulative, controlling narcissist
that we fail to see the big picture and how maybe it isn't all so black and white. So as I wait for the dumpster fire, the tell-all, to finish,
So shut the
I thought it'd be fun to go back to one of
this season's greatest hits.
and look at what caused it all to go so horribly, horribly wrong from both sides. Oh, and I guess you might also learn how to avoid fights and have more rewarding and meaningful relationships if you're interested in that sort of thing. So, pack your mayo and grab your cameras. We're taking a trip down not this shit again memory lane. First stop, Ed and Liz's infamous photography fight. You remember the fight, right? Ed and Liz, or the producers, plan a little working date night out where Ed can teach Liz some photography basics by going on a photo shoot with Liz's model friend. As it turns out, Ed's been at this photography thing for nearly 20 years and has
6 photo covers to my name.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds impressive, so good for him. Should be a relaxing, bonding night for the two of them. Nice. Of course it's not nice. What did you think was gonna happen? Yeah, so it doesn't go that way. They go on the photo shoot, but Ed kind of talked down to her the whole time and, according to Liz at least, spent the night just showing off to the model instead of, spending time and attention with his partner. But is that what really happened? Was it really that simple? Was this
All toxic Ed's fault.
like we're meant to believe? And what can we learn from all this? Now, before we get into the fight itself, and we will get into the fight, I know what you really want. I need to pitch some ideas to you about what Ed and Liz may have been feeling going into the night before the photo shoot took place. After all, fights don't truly break out spontaneously. There's always something brewing beneath the surface. So how might Ed and Liz have felt before going on the photo shoot? Let's start with Ed. We know that Ed is very insecure. He says it, Liz says it.
He's known.
And when I watch Ed, one of the impressions I get from him strongly is that he seems very childishly insecure. His mannerisms, tactics, the ways he acts out, it reminds me a lot of me when I was 12, basically. You remember what it was like to be 12? It sucked, right? And if you're 12 right now, what are you doing watching this video? This is for adults. Go on, get. You're insecure about everything and desperate for people to like you. You have no friends. People make fun of you for being a ginger even though you're not actually a ginger. Now imagine you're going on a date with someone you like with all of the insecurities of a 12-year-old. You want your date to like you and think you're cool, but you don't think you're very cool. You believe it's only a matter of time before they find out that you're not that cool and that you're actually kind of a loser. And you smell bad too. Did your mom dress you today? Wait, is your shirt inside out? This guy's shirt's inside out. What a smelly loser. And by the way, I hope you don't think I'm mocking him by using the 12-year-old metaphor. We all have a scared inner child within us that just wants to be liked and accepted. Even if you see yourself as a secure and confident person, I can just about guarantee you that your inner child still seeks validation and approval from time to time. And there's nothing wrong with that, if you can cope with and manage those feelings of insecurity in a healthy way, which Ed doesn't. Cue the montage.
Again, these are just numbers to you. Maybe you're the student. I'm training you. You mean an iPhone? It's a lot easier when your subject's beautiful.
This is
Yes, these are the clips you came here to see, didn't you? These are the clips that make it into those Ed being toxic for 12 minutes straight videos. And again, I'm not excusing his behavior or saying it's not toxic. If I see anyone in the comments write about how I'm normalizing toxic behavior or defending abuse, I'll feel bad because I didn't mean to come off that way. I'm still figuring out how to walk this commentary tightrope and how to express a more nuanced perspective in my videos. What was I saying? All right, maybe you're not with me on all this inner child stuff. I get it.
Who does this nose ring guy think he is? Tell me something about having a child and all this woo-woo shit.
All right. Calm down. If you're struggling to relate to that, imagine what you're like going on a first date. Well, of course, you're a perfectly secure and confident individual. You feel no pressure at all on a first date because you know it's better to just be yourself, and if they like you for who you are, then great. And if they don't, then now you know it just wasn't a good fit to begin with. I know that's the right answer, but how easy is that in reality? Come on, your first few first dates? You get there 5 hours early, you put on the cologne you've had hidden in your bathroom sink for 3 years just in case. You actually showered with soap this time instead of shampoo. You care what they think of you, and you may be worried that you don't perform well enough to impress them. Now, if it was me on the photo shoot, I probably wouldn't have taken it so seriously, and maybe you wouldn't have either. Maybe you and I would be loose, have some fun, teach some tricks, have some laughs. But that's only because I'm secure enough in myself and the relationship to not be overly worried about my partner rejecting me. I can only be relaxed if I'm able to relax. I think Ed can't fully relax. He doesn't feel safe enough to. It seems to me at least that it's possible that Ed's insecurities and traumas run deep enough to cause him to suffer from emotional flashbacks that bring him back to being 12 years old. And I don't think insecurities like that just magically go away when you put a camera in his hands. Of course, we can't know what Ed is actually feeling in these moments, but I think given his record of insecurity on the show and the fact that he at least admits to being self-conscious later on in the episode,
I get kind of, self-conscious of my work.
I think we can consider that as a contributing factor or a possible cause for his behavior. Perhaps by understanding how Ed's insecurities might be influencing his actions, we might better understand how our own insecurities might be manifesting in our own lives, or it might make us less likely to believe our partner is just some
Stupid asshole that doesn't care about me.
during a fight, and might be more receptive to the possibility that they might be scared deep down and just not handling it very well. And in a fight, the difference between believing your partner is a
Mean, hateful person.
and believing your partner is hurt and lashing out inappropriately cannot be understated. Again, my analysis here is less about speculating on real life Ed's actual feelings in this particular moment, because who the hell knows, and more about using what we see on screen to have better relationships in our own lives and hopefully be less quick to hate on others. Speaking of how insecurities might be manifesting, we need to talk about Liz. I think Liz is distrustful of Ed. I know, shocker, right? Who would ever believe that? Hello, Ripley's, you're not gonna believe it. And because of that, and because of all the built-up resentment they have towards each other, I think she's primed to interpret things in a worse way than maybe things were otherwise intended. Which I think Ed is guilty of too. I don't mean to single out Liz here, but let's say your partner is a bartender. Part of their job might be chatting people up, laying on some charm, maybe even engaging in some light flirting. Now, maybe your partner's a real piece of work and only got into the industry in the first place so they could pick up chicks or dudes or whoever. But maybe your partner just sees it as part of the job, adding to the guest's experience. Or maybe I'm just trying to earn some tips so I can take your ungrateful ass out on a date later. If you're already insecure for whatever reason, maybe they're a piece of shit, I don't know. But if you're already looking for evidence of their misconduct, you're more likely to interpret their otherwise normal behavior as sleazy. To grossly paraphrase Brene Brown, stop walking through the world looking for confirmation that your partner's a lying dirtbag. You will always find it because you've made that your mission. Again, who knows how she really feels? I'm not asserting that this is what she was feeling or that this really was going through her head at the moment, but it might have been. Could Liz's insecurities be manifesting in ways that increase the likelihood of a fight? Well, you'll just have to wait until part 3 to hear my opinion. So I know the show wanted to make it seem like they were going into this photo shoot with only the most optimistic and pure expectations, as if they were a happy and secure couple. But come on, do we really believe that? I think the editors just set it up that way so that when a fight does break out, it's more surprising to us as the audience, and maybe we're more likely to watch this and conclude how bad they are as a couple together, that they can't even do the most basic, simple things without fighting. When really, I think that they were already going into this night with a fairly high amount of anxiety that already primes them to disagree and have a fight. Damn, they got me again. Thanks for sticking with me while I pitched my hypotheses. It really means a lot that you care so much about what I have to say. And as a reminder, those hypotheses are that Ed's insecurities and previous traumas may be playing a role in influencing his behavior, and that Liz's insecurities and previous traumas may be playing a role in how she interprets some of Ed's behavior. Got it? We all comfy with that? All right. With that, let's jump into the fight. Now, let's watch the night unfold, mostly scene by scene, keeping in mind my hypotheses from earlier. And let's see if we can see past the Ed is a controlling asshole level of things, and instead see if we can see both sides of this fight.
My friend Alex is a professional model, and I thought she'd be a good fit because it would make me feel a little bit more loosened up working with someone that we already know.
It could be that she just really wanted to learn and was worried that she might have less of an opportunity to ask questions and learn from Ed if they were going on a photo shoot with a more traditional pay-by-the-hour sort of client. Maybe. But it could also be that she has some level of jealousy or insecurity around the idea of Ed going on a photo shoot with other women. And if that was the case, I suppose some level of insecurity might be normal in that situation, but I think for most adults that could raise some yellow flags. I mean, if the roles were reversed, if the roles were reversed and Ed was uncomfortable with Liz taking photos of male models, we'd probably question his motivation a bit then, right?
Always take off the lens cap.
Ed starts the night off with a joke, but Liz seems annoyed. Maybe she's sick of his shit already? Nothing major, but if I'm already nervous about how the night's going, this kind of response to a joke is not going to make me feel any better.
Let's have fun.
But then they cut to smiles, so which clip's the edited one? Who knows?
I know how to use a camera pretty well, but definitely not
You mean
at
an iPhone or a camera?
I know how to use a camera pretty well, Ed.
I suppose Ed thought this would be funny to her as well somehow, but misses the mark completely and just comes off demeaning. She kind of said that like someone tucked their dog, didn't she? Did you make this mess? Snoopy.
So I'm at 396, I'm gonna drop it to 380. Again, these are just numbers to you.
Maybe he meant that to be understanding or sympathetic, but the tone and the way he touches her arm can kind of make it sound like he's saying, I know you don't know anything. I just want to say that it's okay to be stupid.
I'm ready to go.
You look amazing.
I brushed my hair.
You look great. So it's a lot easier when your subject's beautiful. All right, well, that's kind of cute. Do that again. Okay, nice. Okay, kind of lean into it, kind of just have some fun, play with the camera. Hello, nice.
I wouldn't be surprised if every one of these comments he made during the night made it into the final cut. I don't know, but the editors might be doing him a little dirty here, but maybe not. Also, is this normal photography stuff to say? Let me know in the comments.
I think it's possible that Ed does like photography because he does get to flirt with women.
To me, it sounded like kind of a joke or just a comment meant to express her frustrations with Ed right now. But oftentimes when we joke around about something like that, there's usually something there. Even if she were to clarify later that she was just joking, I'd be surprised if there wasn't some part of her that really did wonder about that, even if just 20%.
I look for a line. That's my style, not yours. But you might find different things that work for you.
There he goes again with that tone in the hand. Was this condescending or was this a reasonable thing to say? It's kind of on the border, right? Maybe the content is fine, but something about the delivery just at least doesn't sit right for me. But seeing it twice now, maybe this is just how Ed is and he doesn't mean it that way. Who knows? It's the way it's edited. We already have multiple comments, either to the model or to Liz, that might be adding up for Liz. She seems to be dealing with it all right, but she may also be responding to his transgressions off camera with coldness or a lack of validation, which is what I think he's really after. Part of the reason I think she may be doing that, for one, is everything that we've seen from them over the course of the whole season, but also because of what happens next.
It looks like she has no neck.
Really? It had to be a no neck comment, did it? Hey, I don't know Ed personally, but we could take a guess on how that would make him feel, right? Actually, we don't need to. He tells us how it made him feel later.
I get teased about my neck all the time. So I'm a little sensitive to that.
And it's possible that Liz was being completely rational and unbiased when she made that comment, but I just don't get that feeling. Maybe, but knowing their overall dynamic and how much vitriol and resentments that they can have for each other at times, I think it's very possible that that comment was meant to hurt Ed, tit for tat, even if she wasn't completely conscious of it. But I do think it was intentional to some degree.
You're not here to critique my work. I'm trying to teach you what I'm doing.
I'm not critiquing, I'm trying to tell you what I like.
Right, but it's what the model wants. Okay. And then I've just, I've done this long enough where I know, but okay. Right.
Well, okay.
Yep. This is all bad, but I want to take this opportunity to talk about passive aggression and specifically eye rolling. According to therapist, efficient, and really cool guy, Chad David. I really found the best reference for this one, didn't I? Eye rolling is a very condescending gesture that tells the other person they're an idiot. Ed might be using a condescending tone with Liz and occasionally puts her down in a demeaning way, but her eye roll is also a sign of condescension meant to demean. Anyway, Ed obviously didn't like that, and he defends himself, disagrees, and strongly asserts that he's right and she's wrong. He definitely snapped at her here, and that's not cool. But considering how hurt and triggered he may be, I don't think he did the worst job at handling that situation. It just could have been nastier is all I'm saying, and has gotten nastier at other times on the show. Definitely a hostile act and deserves an apology, for sure. But Liz responds with a good amount of hostility too. She responds to his defensiveness with eye rolling. We know how therapist, efficient, and a really cool guy Chad David feels about that. Scoffing and doing what I call the "you're so full of shit" fake smile. Those are acts of hostility. They are both acting hostilely towards each other. They're feuding. When someone hurts your feelings, it's very normal to want to hurt their feelings back in retribution. But if you're aiming for peace, or conflict resolution in tense moments with your partner, passive hostility and disapproval is unlikely to make the situation better for either of you. And when I watch how they interact before a fight or across the whole season, I often notice them get stuck playing a game of tit for tat. You hurt me, I hurt you back. I think the way Ed plays that game is more obvious to most viewers, me included, but I think Liz plays plays it too, and I wanted to point out how I think Liz might be doing that. Have I mentioned how useful therapy is, by the way? Then we get some one-on-one interviews interjected, but I'm throwing these out. We have no reason to believe that what Ed is referencing in these clips has anything to do with what we just saw. Unless they reference something specifically, these interviews could be taken from completely different contexts in the night, and the editors could just Frankenstein these interviews together and make it seem as if Ed is reflecting on what we just saw. Hearsay.
This is just you being natural.
Oh my!
That's just you being natural. See, it's easy.
I'm kind of speechless.
Again, it's edited to make it look like Liz is stunned and hurt by what Ed just said, but, you know, who knows when exactly that shot was taken. And if Ed said this right after their little tizzy, it could feel like that was a purposeful jab meant to hurt her in another game of tit for tat. Maybe, but that does seem like a normal thing you'd say to a model in that context, so I don't know.
I'm sure Liz didn't mean to, but I get teased about my neck all the time. So I'm a little sensitive to that.
Told you.
So babe, the camera's set, you can just have fun.
I think that you didn't use your 2 ears.
Wait, what? Did you all miss this the first time like I did? It looks like now that they're done with the professional shots that now it's time for Liz to try her hand. That's interesting. Liz was saying this whole time that Ed's not giving her enough attention and is focused on teaching the model instead of her. But was it Ed's intention this entire time to do the professional shots first and then focus on teaching Liz afterwards? That makes a big difference, doesn't it? Did Liz know that? Did they communicate this ahead of time? Because if they didn't, then it begs the question, what would have happened if they did? Would Liz still have felt insecure when Ed gave his attention to the model instead of her? Would she be as frustrated with him? Would she still make that no neck comment, trigger Ed, and be on the verge of storming off now? And what if they did communicate this ahead of time? Liz said Ed hasn't been teaching her and has spent all of his time teaching the model instead. We definitely saw him teach her some things. Maybe he didn't teach her as much as she would have liked, but if she knew that Ed would focus on her after he did his thing, then I don't know how fair that would be. This makes me wonder if perhaps some of the you make it all about her and not about me perspective that she has could be fueled by that insecurity I hypothesized in part 1. Because it could be that, condescending remarks aside, Ed behaved in a relatively normal way for a photographer on a shoot, while Liz, who may be going into the nights with previous insecurities, interprets Ed's normal working behavior as unfair and possibly a betrayal. Who knows? But it's starting to look a little bit less like this is all just clearly toxic Ed's fault and nothing else, right?
I think that you didn't use your 2 ears
Yeah.
to listen.
Babe, you're the student. I'm training you.
You didn't train me. The whole time you were training her.
It took me 18 years to get here.
Well, you're not listening to how I feel. You didn't really teach me anything.
Okay.
So.
Sorry, babe.
You okay?
Here, let's look at these again.
Anyway, Liz tries to be heard, Ed tries to be heard, the model's just standing there, Liz leaves, the damage is done.
Alex, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. That's exactly how I thought the shoot was gonna go. Like, I knew he wasn't gonna try to actually teach me. It wasn't even like telling me things. It was just him and Alex. And the fact that he doesn't even care right now to even like hear me out or hear like what I don't know, whatever.
Now, she's hurt and venting, so perhaps she would rather we take this scene with a grain of salt, but this is how you thought it'd go, huh? See what I'm saying about the coming into the night with distrust thing? Justified or not, our beliefs influence our interpretations of things, and I wonder how that could be playing out here. Meanwhile, Ed explains to the model, her name is Alex, by the way, I just didn't want to throw around too many names earlier, but she does indeed have a name, how from his side of things, he thought Liz was the one being a jerk, because of, you guessed it, that no neck comment.
You're supposed to teach Liz too, right?
But when she's like, oh, she doesn't have a neck, I'm like, yes, she does.
The model, being a homie, defends Liz's take on the no neck thing, which seems to open the door for Ed.
That was the one where I'm like, what are you talking about?
Well, I get what she's saying, like kind of hunched over.
Yeah.
No, I see what she sees. I see that.
I probably took it the wrong way. Yeah, so
Okay.
I probably have to apologize.
Once Ed realizes that maybe he was wrong and should apologizes, he pretty quickly connects with his real feelings about how self-conscious he was with his work.
I get kind of, self-conscious of my work, and I think I hurt Liz's feelings. I think, I kind of corrected her in front of Alex, and she didn't like that.
But he owns up to being a jerk, he realizes he was wrong, and he goes to apologize. That's what we like to see. I am a little confused at this point, however, because Liz says she's upset with him because he was giving the model too much attention. But Ed seems to want to apologize over how he acted around their tizzy over the no neck thing, which he still probably should apologize for, but doesn't seem to be what Liz is looking for.
Sorry I snapped at you. I love you. You're my fiance, but you weren't my fiance in that photo shoot. You were somebody that I was teaching my technique to. And baby, I'm not perfect.
So this fight seems like it's heavily edited and maybe scenes are put out of context, so we're gonna have to do our best here. But first, Ed apologizes for snapping at Liz, and that's great. Apologies, we're happy about that, right? I think that if they stuck on this particular topic and talked about it a little bit more, they might have found a resolution there.
You weren't even talking to me. You were talking to her and showing off. And
so listen to that. Your face, your eyes, your everything was somewhere else. It sounds like at her core, she wants more attention and care and tenderness from him. So if we were to read between the lines and maybe a little bit exactly what she was saying, she's asking for more attention, more one-on-one attention, more, I want to feel like I'm your partner, that we're a team, we're doing this together.
your face, your eyes, everything was somewhere else.
What do you, on my subject with this? Maybe this wasn't about. Geez, it's not personal.
And in 2 different clips now, Ed is saying this was just professional. He was just focusing on his work. I'm performing a little bit, right? I'm doing my job. I'm putting on my public face. I'm being a professional. It's not personal. I didn't mean it that way. I think that's a really important point to note, because similar to what they talked about earlier, I think that this is a manifestation of their different expectations they had for how the night would go. Ed's been doing this for 20 years. He has 6 cover shots to his name. He takes the job very seriously. So I think that he's going into this night trying to have a very well-polished final product, maybe to impress the model, but I think it's to impress Liz and kind of say, see, look how good I am at my job. You know, aren't I pretty cool, right? But I don't think at the end of the day, Liz really cares that much about exactly how good he is. I think that she just wants some quality time together and some quality attention. And the way they're talking about this now suggests to me, or reaffirms to me, that they did not communicate their expectations or their desires of how the night should have gone beforehand. So let's keep that in mind as we watch the rest of the fight.
I still don't feel like you're hearing me.
Okay.
I'm not just your assistant, or I don't want to be your assistant. I want to learn and like ask questions or feel like you give an interest on. I don't.
Exactly. I just want to feel like you have an interest in me. What did she say when she was storming off from Ed? I knew how this night would go, and look at him over there. He doesn't even care about my feelings right now when I'm trying to tell him. I can't even. This really reinforces to me that Liz doesn't really care about the photo shoot itself. She just wants quality bonding time together and to feel like her feelings really matter, and that he cares about her feelings, and that he wants to involve her in things, and that they are a unit together, right? Because also,
I want to find hobbies with Ed. I love doing hobbies with him.
I think that's her core point here. But then listen to how Ed responds.
I do all that, but
No,
you were
you
critiquing
didn't.
me.
I wasn't trying to critique it. I didn't. I made one comment, and then I said,
Right, you're like, she looks like she doesn't have a neck.
So initially, Ed just kind of brushes right past all of her requests and criticisms, right? And just says, yeah, I do all that. I mean, she literally says, I don't think you're really hearing me. This is how I feel. And he says, nah, I do all that. I think Ed is legitimately hurt from that no neck comment. I think that Ed still in this moment believes that Liz's chief criticism is, you were being kind of a jerk to me and not giving me the right kind of attention in that moment. And Ed is trying to explain, listen, I was good the entire night. That moment I messed up, and that's because of the criticism that you gave me and the no neck comment. So it sounds to me like Liz is trying to talk about the events over the whole night, and Ed is trying to focus in on this particular thing that happened because that is what triggered him and what he's also trying to apologize for. I totally get it from Liz's perspective. I mean, I've heard her say in 5 or 6 different ways the same complaints, which is, I wanted it to be more about us and I wanted more of the attention, and instead you gave it to the model. And when she's tried to communicate the same thing 5 or 6 times and Ed seems to be skirting around it or dismissing it or not really hearing it, it's frustrating. And then she just, I don't think you're listening to me. And then he still doesn't. And then it's like, all right, you know, whatever, I give up. Very understandable in that situation. However, it sounds like Ed is trying to explain himself, maybe when he shouldn't because of miscommunication, fair enough. But it does sound to me like Ed is trying to apologize and trying to get to the root of something, and he's not getting it. And I think that he's not getting it because he's still triggered from the no neck comments. But I think he is trying, and he's not blaming and he's not accusing her. And I think that he's doing a pretty good job staying level-headed, trying to be a good person in this situation. So I do want to give him kudos for that.
There's just both ways we could have handled it. I could have worded it better, but then you could have also asked me my opinion.
So I'm apologizing.
Oh, I'm sorry too.
Okay, great. You're very smart. You're very bright. But you're also very stubborn, just like me.
I don't know. Let's just not work together. Let's just not.
And that's a difficult situation for 2 people to manage in a fight. One person is hurt about thing A, the other person is hurt about thing B. Person A wants to talk about thing A, person B wants to talk about thing B. They just kind of hit each other in the head and they go, why don't they understand me? They're not listening to me, they don't care, they're not really hearing what I'm saying. That's, I think, very common. And ideally, you both can at least kind of hear the other person and, you know, one person makes a small concession, you both kind of work bit by bit until you get to the middle, and then you feel like you've both had your sides heard and you can understand the other person's, and you come together and it's all cute, and you kiss and make up and sweet. But sometimes one or both people can be so triggered that until their thing is addressed, they're not really going to be able to hear whatever you have to say about your thing. And this is way easier said than done, but for me at least, it's been helpful to recognize and accept that, okay, I have this thing that I need to communicate, that's, I need to get off my chest or need to address with my partner. But the reality of the situation is we're going to need to talk about whatever they need to talk about first. So maybe Ed could put his stuff aside and go, okay, I'm really going to listen to what Liz's real complaints are and try to understand them without judging. We'll get to my stuff later, but I'm going to put that aside for now. I'm really going to listen. Okay, it sounds like she's hurt that I didn't give her enough attention throughout the night. And I thought I did, but it sounds like she doesn't think that. Or maybe if he's real vulnerable and good, he can say, I was insecure and self-conscious about doing my work in front of you in the first place. And I know that that I'm a photographer and a professional, and I wanted to impress you with the quality of my work. So I really wanted to focus on getting the best shots. And, maybe I didn't give enough attention to you, but really that's only because I wanted you to be impressed with me and I wanted you to like me. And maybe hearing that, Liz could relax a little bit and go, okay, well, that makes sense. And, but I don't care about the quality of the thing. I just wanted this to be bonding time with us. I don't care that you're this amazing, and that's cool and all that you're good at photography, but I just wanted this to be about us. And maybe that would help Ed and go, and I wanted this to be about us too. I guess we just, went about it in different ways and, we didn't communicate our expectations. And then maybe once that gets addressed and they start to feel a little bit better about that, then Ed can say, again, I'm sorry for snapping earlier, but I was really hurt by, what you said earlier about the no neck thing. I'm sensitive about the no neck thing. And, when you said that, I just felt pretty triggered and upset and angry. And, that made me snap at you. And, that hurt my feelings a lot. And if Liz is already feeling like, okay, well, he has now heard what I have to say, he cares about my feelings, she can relax her defenses a little bit. And I think that anyone in that situation could go, oh, well, yeah, I could see how that could trigger you and be, I didn't mean it that way. I think maybe she did, subconsciously or something. But then she could understand how he felt and, apologize for that. And now they both feel hurt and, they can go on their merry way. So when you watch the fight this time, did you see toxic Ed being a controlling asshole and Liz being I don't really know what the internet thinks of Liz, innocent victim, toxic enabler, I don't know. Or if I did my job, did you see two people with their own insecurities and ways of coping with them, with different expectations and two totally different stories about what just took place, fail to put them together and understand each other? You can say you saw the former, I won't be offended, but regardless of what you saw, it does leave us one last thing to talk about. We went all over the place today, so first I'm going to give a quick summary of my own personal opinion of what I think took place that night. Then we'll wrap it all together with 4 lessons we can take away and learn from this fight. So, in brief, here's what I think happened. Ed and Liz both enter the night feeling insecure. Ed is worried about not being good enough for Liz in some way. Liz is worried about Ed's involvement with other women. And boy, is that not one way of summarizing their whole relationship. Ed focuses mostly on being the best photographer he can in front of Liz, which he thinks involves hyping up the model a bit. But Liz interprets the whole thing as Ed just blowing her off and trying to show off to the model all night, which sucks because I think Ed's deepest motivation was to impress Liz at the end of the day. Total backfire, in my opinion. So Liz is hurt and basically just has to marinate in negative emotion all night. That's a fun time. And perhaps because they're in public or because Ed's busy, she resorts to communicating her disapproval of the situation passive-aggressively. Maybe she's unresponsive to his attempts at teaching or frowns at his jokes, acts distantly, that sort of thing. But then I think she gets frustrated enough and makes a no-neck comment deliberately to hurt Ed's feelings in retribution. Maybe she did that consciously, maybe subconsciously, but either way, Ed's hurt nonetheless, and he snaps at her a bit. Once Ed's part of the photo shoot is done, he offers the camera to Liz, as it was his intention all along to focus more on her after the professional parts of the photo shoot were done. But Liz was expecting more of his attention during the photo shoot, which she tries to communicate to him, but possibly because of the no-neck comment from earlier still triggering him, Ed is unable to hear that feedback, and Liz eventually storms off. Ed later realizes that he shouldn't have snapped at her, and he goes to apologize. Which was fantastic to see, by the way. I was really proud of him when he showed that one-on-one, and he's telling the camera that he hurt her feelings and that he should apologize. He took it the wrong way. He did a great job at owning up to his mistakes. Problem is, Ed wants to apologize for snapping at her, not for the lack of attention thing, which is Liz's real complaint, which I don't think Ed really gets, and I assume that's because he's still triggered by the no-neck thing. So, although they try to talk things out, they end up talking past each other, fail to connect, and ultimately fail to seeing each other's side of things, sadly. Although Ed and Liz missed each other that night, perhaps their on-screen sacrifice can help guide us in our journeys towards love and togetherness with our partners. And with that, here are the 4 biggest lessons I learned from watching this fight. Number 1, communicate your insecurities with your partner and seek comfort and reassurance from them directly before approaching a potentially triggering or stressful situation. What if Ed told Liz beforehand that he was self-conscious of his work, or that he was worried that Liz would reject him? Maybe he wouldn't have felt as pressured and would be more open and receptive to Liz's feelings and concerns, and might even make fewer demeaning comments. And what if Liz told Ed beforehand that she was insecure, or perhaps a little jealous about him spending too much time and attention with the model instead of her, and that she wanted to make sure that this was their night together first and foremost? Or they could have found a compromise between Ed's professional work and Liz's teaching in a way that made both of them feel good and satisfied. Which brings me to number 2, communicate your expectations beforehand. You're unlikely to get what you want if you don't clarify what that is. How much of Ed and Liz's fight could have been avoided if they agreed beforehand how the night would go? What if they agreed that the first 30 minutes of the shoot would be Ed focusing on the model and getting the highest quality of work done, and the rest of the time would be all about Liz and her learning and he would teach her? Maybe that would eliminate or at least drastically reduce Liz's insecurities, which in turn might prevent her from making that no-neck comment and triggering Ed, and the both of them end up getting exactly what they want out of the night. Once you share your expectations with your partner, it'll be much easier for them to make you happy, and for you to make you happy. Number 3, communicate hurt feelings directly and nicely. When your partner hurts you, it's normal to want to hurt them back. And although taking shots at each other is tempting, it just won't get you closer to a solution and feeling better. If you don't like the way your partner's treating you, treating them poorly back is unlikely to magically correct their behavior. If the only way you know how to communicate your feelings directly is by screaming or accusing instead of being nice, here's a tip on how to do that nicely. Try to communicate how you feel first, instead of focusing on what they did. Let's say you feel ignored by your partner. If you start by saying, "You ignored me all night," they'll probably feel attacked and accused and respond with defensiveness. "No, I didn't. You're crazy. You're just jealous. You're just sensitive." Instead, try saying, "I felt lonely all night." That's a much softer approach and will be a lot less likely to trigger defensiveness. It sucks to try to be nice and amicable, especially when you're already mad, but if you can manage it, you'll be glad you did. Number 4, if you're in a disagreement already, try solving one problem at a time. When 2 people are hurt, it's very common for them to talk past each other, but that leads nowhere. If you've been butting heads for a little bit and you're not getting anywhere, try intentionally putting your feelings aside temporarily to focus on the other person's issues. You can still tell yourself that the fight is 95% their fault if that makes it easier, that's okay, but then really focus on that 5% and take it seriously. Now that you've solved half the problem, you may find that solving the other half is now much easier. Some of these tips may be easy to understand on paper, but you might find them challenging to implement in your real life. But think about it like this. You can either make today hard and have an easy life, or you can make today easy and have a hard life. So, try out these tips. Make life easier. There are probably more lessons to glean from this fight, but this video is already way too long, and frankly, it's absurdly long if you consider that this fight only lasted 9 minutes across 2 episodes. Thank you everyone for making it to the end of this video, and for the overwhelming support on my last video. I had 7 subscribers in the beginning of December, so the fact that I now have almost 1,300, it took me a whole week to just process all of that. So thank you for your support so much. It really means a lot to me. If somehow you've made it this far and you haven't seen my last video, then I guess this video is doing pretty well, so that's pretty cool. But I also made a video on Jamal on the last tell-all. I'll put that here. If you liked my analysis and you want to see more 90 Day Fiance and other living and relationships content, then you know what to do. Hit subscribe, hit the like button, ring the bell for notifications. Every comment helps the algorithm. And thank you all for your support. I'll see you in the next one.